Hey y'all! Okay, so I'm gonna keep reading our chapter book, Captain Underpants and the Perilous Plot of Professor Poopy Pants. And we read a lot tonight on Zoom because we had friends come in late and such, so it will be a little bit of a lengthy video. Okay? Chapter 9, The Gerbil Jogger 2000. The next morning, Professor Poopy Pants came to school with an odd-looking miniature robot. "Look, children," he said. "I've created a new invention using the principles of science. I call it the Gerbil Jogger 2000. The children stopped laughing for a moment and looked with interest at Professor Poopy Pants' new invention. "You see, children," said the professor, "some people like to jog, and their pets like to jog along beside them. That's fine if you have a dog or a cat, but what if you have a pet gerbil? It used to be a big problem, but not anymore." Professor Poopy Pants opened the glass dome on the Gerbil Jogger 2000 and inserted a cute, fuzzy gerbil. The gerbil pushed his tiny legs against the simple controls, and suddenly the machine came to life. In no time at all, the gerbil was jogging around the classroom in his robot suit. The children were delighted. "Wow," said Connor Massini, "science is cool." All of the other children agreed. "This is wonderful," thought Professor Poopy Pants. "I've reached them. Now I can teach them." Excuse me," said George the professor. "What's your middle name?" "My middle name," said the professor proudly, "is Pee-Pee. Why do you ask?" At that point, the children picked up where they had left off, laughing at Professor Pee-Pee Poopy Pants' ridiculous name. The professor began to shake with anger. Tiny veins in his forehead started growing, and his face turned bright red. "I can't take much more of this," the furious professor said through clenched teeth. "I think I might blow a fuse if one more thing happens." Chapter 10. Just one more thing. Soon afterward, in reading class, the children all heard the story of the Pied Piper of Hamelian. "You know," said George, "that story gives me an idea." So George and Harold began working on their newest comic book, Captain Underpants and the Pied Pooper of Pequa. That afternoon, they snuck into the office and ran off copies of their new adventure to sell on the playground. And everything would have been just fine if one of the third graders hadn't left his copy lying in the hallway. Chapter 11. Captain Underpants and the Pied Pooper of Pequa. Captain Underpants and the Pied Pooper of Pequa. Once upon a time in the city of Pequa, Ohio, there was a science teacher whose name was Pippi Poopy Pants. Everyone laughed at his funny name. This made Pippi mad, so he built an army of gerbil jogger 2000s. He put a gerbil in each one, but he couldn't make them do any evil stuff. Then he thought of an evil plan. He made a bunch of little headphones and put them on the gerbils. Soon, Professor Poopy Pants' army of Gerbil Jogger 2000s were off on an evil rampage. They all headed straight for the school. "Help!" the Gerbil Jogger 2000s broke into the cafeteria. "They just knocked over some cupcakes, and now they're attacking the gym teacher. Save the cupcakes!" Pictures are hard to see. Professor Poopy Pants and his evil army rounded up all the children. "This looks like a job for Captain Underpants! What seems to be the problem? I'm taking these kids to be my workers. And just who do you think you are? I'm Professor Poopy Pants." Ha 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 ha. Professor Poopy Pants was really mad, so he pressed the button on his bow tie, and his bow tie transformed him into a giant cyborg. They had a big fight, but Captain Underpants was faster than a speeding waistband. More powerful than boxer shorts, and able to leap tall buildings without getting a wedgie, Professor Poopy Pants chased our hero into an auto junkyard. "I've got you now, waistband warrior! Now I'm gonna crush you." Captain Underpants pressed the button on his utility waistband. the tiny toilet of truth. Captain Underpants aimed the tiny toilet of truth at Robo Pippi. Flush! I'm rusted! Captain Underpants saved the day! But what about the evil gerbils? They're not evil. Look, Professor Poopy Pants was controlling them with this. Is it music? No. Babe, I got you, babe. Oh, please make it stop. That would make anyone turn evil. So Captain Underpants destroyed the controller. Hooray for Captain Underpants! Chapter 12. Professor P goes crazy. In his entire life, Professor Poopy Pants had never been as angry as he was at that very moment. As he stood in the hallway, something inside his fragile brain snapped. He began shaking and sweating uncontrollably. Suddenly, a wicked smile stretched across the professor's face. He staggered toward his empty classroom, mumbling to himself and giggling. He had hit rock bottom, and he decided to pull the rest of the planet down with him. Pippi P. Poopy Pants was going to take over the world. But before I can tell you that story, I have to tell you, never mind. I'll just tell you that story. Chapter 13. Honey, I Shrunk the School. Professor Poopy Pants opened the storage closet in the classroom and took out the Shrinky Pig 2000 and the Goosey Grove 4000. He also grabbed the empty Gerbil Jogger 2000 and stumbled outside with his inventions. The crazed professor giggled wildly at himself as he aimed the Goosey Grove 4000 at the Gerbil Jogger 2000. Glzert! Mommy, said a little boy who was walking by his mother. A little old man just crawled into a giant robot suit and is about to take over the school. Oh, for heaven's sake, said his mother. Where do you come up with this nonsense? Next you'll be telling me that a giant man is in his underwear fighting a huge robot in the middle of the city. Professor Poopy Pants was now in control of the colossal Gerbil Jogger 2000. He reached down with its mighty arm, picked up the Shrinky Pig 2000, and aimed it at the school. Blizzert! Just then, George and Harold looked out the window. Hey, said George, isn't that the gerbil robot thingy? Yes, said Harold. Why is it so big? I don't know, said George, but it's getting bigger by the second. Said Harold. I don't think it's getting bigger. I think we're getting smaller. Chapter 14. The Perilous Plot. Professor Poopy Pants reached down and picked up the tiny school with his giant robotic hand. Everyone screamed in horror. In no time at all, Eyewitness News woman Ingrid Ashley was on the scene. What do you want from us? Shouted reporter Ashley. I want a pencil, screamed Professor Poopy Pants. A pencil? Asked reporter Ashley. Here, take mine. She tossed the yellow number 2 pencil toward the giant robot. Professor Poopy Pants reached down with his giant robot arm, picked up the Goosey Grove 4000 and aimed it at the pencil. Glzert! The pencil grew to the size of a tree trunk and Professor Poopy Pants grabbed it. Follow me, he said. What's that creep? Oh, just kidding. Okay. The giant robot led the news crew to the center of downtown Pequa. There he found 3 large white billboards. He put down the Shrinky Pig 2000 and the Goosey Grove 4000 and began writing on the billboards with a giant pencil. Chapter 15. The Name Change-O Chart 2000. Professor Poopy Pants spent several minutes jotting down a complex code of the 3 giant billboards. George and Harold, along with nearly 1,000 of their fellow shrunken students, watched the mad professor from the terrifying clutch of his giant robotic hand. "What is that crazy guy up to?" asked Mr. Krupp from his office window. "I'll tell you," shouted Pippi Poopy Pants. "Everybody on the planet must now change their normal names into silly names using these 3 charts. Anyone who refuses will get shrunk." "How do the charts work?" asked Mr. Krupp. "It's easy," said Professor Poopy Pants. "What's your first name?" "I'm not telling," said Mr. Krupp. "What is your first name?" shouted Professor Poopy Pants. All right, said Mr. Krupp. "It's Benny." All of the children giggled. "So the first letter of your name is B," said Pippi. "Now look at the first chart and find the letter B." Mr. Krupp looked at the chart. "It says B equals Lumpy," he whined. "Good," said Professor Poopy Pants. "Your new first name is Lumpy." All of the children laughed. "Lumpy Krupp?" moaned Mr. Krupp. "I don't want to be called Lumpy Krupp." "You won't," laughed Professor Poopy Pants, "because you have to change your last name too." "Uh-oh," said Mr. Krupp. "Your last name is Krupp," said the professor, "which starts with a K and ends with a P. Now find the letter K on the second chart and the letter P on the third." Mr. Krupp looked at the 2 charts. "It says K equals Potty and P equals Biscuits." "Wonderful," shouted the professor. "Your new last name is Potty Biscuits." "Oh no," groaned the principal. "My new name is Lumpy Potty Biscuits." The children all howled with laughter. "Don't laugh too hard, kiddies," said Professor Poopy Pants. "You'll all have to change your names too, or I'll shrink you again." Well, as you can imagine, nobody wanted to get shrunk twice, so everybody looked at the 3 charts and figured out their new silly names. Stephanie Yorkhoff became Snotty Gorilla Breath, Robbie Steinberg became Loopy Pizza Pants, and poor little Janet Warwick became Poopsie Chucklebutt. "This may be the most horrible moment in all of human history," said the local news reporter to her audience. "It seems that everyone on Earth must now change his or her name to avoid getting shrunk. Good luck to you all. This is Chim Chim Diaper Brains reporting for Eyewitness News. Now back to you, Booger." Chapter 16, Fluffy and Cheeseball. "This is Fluffy Toilet Nose and Cheeseball Waffle Fanny." Fluffy is the kid on the left with the tie and the flat top. Cheeseball is the one on the right with the t-shirt and the bad haircut. Remember that. "We've got to do something," cried Fluffy. "But what?" said Cheeseball. "We're smaller than 2 mice. What could we possibly do?" "Let's go find our old friend Captain Underpants," said Fluffy. So Fluffy and Cheeseball ran to Mr. Potty Biscuit's office and found him cowering under his desk. "I can't believe I'm about to do this," said Fluffy, "but here goes nothing." Fluffy snapped his fingers. Snap! Suddenly a strange change came over Lumpy Potty Biscuits. His worried frown quickly turned into a heroic smile. He rose from behind his desk and thrust out of his chest. In no time at all, Mr. Potty Biscuits had removed his outer clothing and tied a red curtain around his neck. "Tra-la-la-la," sang the hero. "Captain Underpants is here." "Cool," said Cheeseball, "but from now on you have to call yourself Buttercup Chicken Fanny. The guy in the gerbil suit says so." "Hey," said Captain Underpants, "I don't take orders from anybody." "Great," said Fluffy. "Now fly out that window and bring back that big machine thingy with the lava lamp on top." "Yes, sir," said Captain Underpants. All right, so that's where we're going to stop tonight. I will finish reading tomorrow. Have a great night. I love you and I miss you. Bye, guys.